Utkarsh, Dhanlakshmi,
Yes, sir.
screen is visible.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay, we'll start. So the next chapter is rigid thread model. Just like last 7 lectures was based on geometrical model given by Peirce. This model is also given by Peirce, but based on some different fundamentals. So today we'll discuss what is that fundamental based on which these models is developed, and based on that fundamentals next 4-5 lectures will continue. So try to understand the concept, then we'll discuss the model. So in geometrical model, our assumptions were: number one, yarns are flexible, means they do not have bending rigidity. You know, anything which is flexible means they do not have any bending rigidity. In geometrical model, this was the assumption in geometrical model. Actual yarn is not really 100% flexible because the yarn has some rigidity. So if they have some rigidity at the point of intersection means when we are weaving, a warp is interlacing with weft. So we call it point of intersection or crossover points. As you see here, this is a point of intersection. This is a point of intersection. So if the yarn has certain rigidity at the point of intersection, warp will exert some force on weft and vice versa. As a result, the yarn will bend because it has certain rigidity. At the crossover points, the weft here will put some pressure on warp or vice versa. And definitely because of this pressure or force or load exerted by one yarn over the other will result bending of the yarn. The amount of bending, how much it will bend, will depend on the diameter of the yarn, which will also depend on cross-sectional shape that we have discussed yesterday also. So the cross-sectional shape, diameter, and also there are many other things, rigidity, packing density, I discussed yesterday. So that means different yarn will bend to different extent based on their physical and mechanical characteristics. Then what happens? We'll be using this term curvature very frequently in subsequent lectures. I understand you must be knowing what is a curvature from fundamental basic geometry in mathematics. So here the definition of curvature is written. The curvature of differentiable curve defined through the osculating circle. Look at osculating circle, which is the circle that best approximates the curve at a point. So why we are giving this example in this context? Try to understand in subsequent slides. The curvature is the amount by which a curve deviates from being a straight line. Initially it was a straight line. Now it is following a curved path. So how much is the curvature? Means how much it has deviated from being a straight line. This is the straight line. That is what the curvature definition. But how it is expressed mathematically? Curvature is always expressed in conjunction with radius of curvature. As the curvature changes, when I am saying as the curvature changes means when a line deviates from its straight path to a curved path. So consider a plane curve defined by equation, let's say y is equal to fx. Suppose that the tangent line is drawn to the curve at point M here, let's say point xy. The tangent forms an angle alpha with the horizontal axis. At the displacement del s along the arc of the curve, the point M moves to the point M dash. So original position is this to M1. So the position of the tangent line also changes. The angle of inclination of the tangent to the positive side x-axis at the point M1 will be alpha plus del alpha. As you can see here, if it changes from here to here, this alpha changes to alpha plus del alpha. Thus, as the point moves by a distance del s, the tangent rotates by angle del alpha. So this reference I'll be taking several times in subsequent derivations of our yarn path in the fabric. So you have to understand this concept. This angle, because of the change in curvature path, will cause a change. You know, when this curvature changes means yarn path will change in the fabric. You will find the angle made by this curvature with this x-axis will change. So this concept you have to understand, and that's why I'm showing it in advance so that you should be clear why this concept is considered in this way. The absolute value of the ratio del alpha over del s is called the mean curvature. It's called the mean curvature of the arc M dash or M1. So in the limit, when del S tends to 0, we obtain the curvature of the curve at point M. K limit del S tends to 0, that is del alpha upon del S. So we will be using this del alpha upon del S as every time in the equations that you have to just remember from this concept. So two things you have to remember from this mathematical concept. What this definition shows, the curvature at a point of a curve characterizes the speed of rotation of the tangent of the curve at that point. And second is the radius of curvature of a curve at point M is called the inverse of the curvature. So radius of curvature is 1 upon curvature, or curvature is 1 upon radius of curvature, the reciprocal of other. So if this is so, then obviously we conclude these two statements from this derivation. What these two statements is? First, radius of curvature of a straight line is infinity. Radius of curvature of a straight line, if you have a straight line, then you draw a radius of curvature, obviously it will be infinity. Or in other words, curvature of a straight line will be 0. So these two inference will be used in the model which we are going to discuss in rigid thread model. So please remember this concept, how with change in angle alpha the del S changes and what happens to the curvature and the radius of curvature. Radius of curvature of a straight line is infinity, curvature of a straight line will be 0. So please keep this always in mind, and we'll be using this concept very frequently. Coming to its relevance in our fabric. Yarn cross section in fabric. This point I have discussed yesterday also. I am repeating it because it will be used here. In a real fabric, the cross section of a yarn varies considerably for different fabrics. If you recall, I concluded this yesterday also while showing you packing. The cross section can be circular, elliptical, racetrack, or any other shape. We have already discussed two types of cross section. First one was Pierce geometry circular, then Kemp's model, which we have discussed yesterday, is racetrack. One can also consider it as elliptical, one can also consider it as rugby football, but there is so many cross sections considered in different models, but we have limited our discussion only to these two, circular and racetrack. It all depends on the yarn density and packing of yarn in the fabric. So I hope you don't have any doubt in this. What will be cross-sectional shape? It depends on compressibility of yarn, to what extent it is compressed. So how much it will be compressed? It depends on the density of yarn and packing of yarn. So these two things will decide what will be shape of the cross section, because yarn is compressible and at crossover points there is a force load by the cross threads. So you will find in literature it is always mentioned cross threads. So nothing to worry. What is cross threads? Cross thread means we have only two threads. If we are saying load exerted by warp, the cross thread will be weft. Load exerted by weft, the cross thread will be warp. So there are only two threads. One will exert load and the other. So these are some of the basics you have to remember. Next, why the cross section vary in different fabrics? there has to be some sort of forces acting between the yarns in the intersection region. So by this time you must be convinced with this. I have already told you the logic because of bending rigidity, which I told you here, because so there is a load, it is not flexible, it will bend and it has some bending rigidity. So that's the reason what is written here. There has to be some sort of forces acting between the yarns in the intersection region. There cannot be forces between the yarns if the yarns are considered flexible. If it is flexible, obviously there will be no force. It has some rigidity, so it is giving some reaction force, means it is giving some resistance to bend, which we have already considered in geometrical model. And moreover, different diameter yarns are not expected to take up similar same curve, because you know in basics of physics, if in a cross-sectional shape the bending rigidity is d to the power 4 if the cross section is circle. So diameter plays an important role. As the diameter increases, rigidity will increase. It is difficult to bend. And we know what is the relationship, the diameter of our yarn. As you go on taking coarse yarn, that means count changes, the diameter changes, the rigidity will change. And it's not that always we use the same count yarn in all the fabrics. Depending on what is the end use of the fabric, we use different count yarn. That means their diameter is different. So rigidity will be different. They will be bent to different extent, and hence they will be giving different properties in the fabric. That we will discuss subsequently. If bending changes, what properties are changed in the fabric. But at this stage, we are trying to justify, or we are trying to explain that the yarn will bend definitely, and what are the factors contributing to this bending. So this is one of the conclusion what we discussed, and try to understand, which we have already discussed crimp interchange, and we'll discuss also crimp balance. Rigidity of yarn and balance of crimp. This concept was given by again Pierce. What is rigidity of yarn and balance of crimp? Textile yarns may be assumed to be perfectly elastic and isotropic material. We are assuming. Obviously, yarns are not 100% elastic. You know what is the load elongation characteristic curve of a yarn. To some extent, initially it is linear, the curve is linear, after that it bends. After the yield point, it changes, and at the ultimate stress, it goes down. So it's not perfectly linear. So if the curve is not perfectly linear, it's not perfectly elastic and isotropic material. So this isotropic word we'll be using very frequently in fabric properties. I'll discuss this term more detail when we will discuss tensile properties of fabric, maybe after 2-3 lectures. They possess rigidity, and their resistance to bending affects the form of the yarn in fabric and has a marked effect on the balance of crimp. So up to this we discussed, but balance of crimp is a new term now I am introducing, and we have a derivation on this. We'll have an equation of balance of crimp, but first you try to understand what is balance of crimp. You have already seen crimp interchange equation. We have discussed about upcrimping and decrimping. When the fabric is extended in one direction, the crimp is removed from the yarn of the direction of loading, and a similar amount of crimp is inserted in the cross threads, in the transverse threads. At some point, you will find a point of stabilization where there will be no further interchange of the crimp, and that is balance of crimp. And when it happens, we have a model subsequently, which will be discussed tomorrow. You will find what is called balance of crimps. The actual elastic behavior of the yarn deviates from the simple elastic theory. In fact, on the yarn will relax as a function of, it's basically the viscoelastic characters of the textile material, which you already know. You know, several times in fiber science also you must have come across this, because all our textile materials which are polymeric, you know, all our fibers are polymeric substances, so they behave viscoelastically. So they are not perfect viscous, they are not perfect elastic, so they give a viscoelastic characteristics, and that govern these stress and characteristic curve. Okay, and that means what I'm saying is they some point they relax in the sense, any textile material which undergoes certain loading, then a strain is developed. At some point it is settled, then you will find the material is relaxed, means setting takes place, and it happens with viscoelastic materials. So in that context, a term is introduced again here, elastica shape. I have told you yesterday, if you recall, I had given you one example, water pipe. If one end of the pipe is open-ended, and once the water flows through the pipe moves like a snake, depending on the space available in its path. Based on that concept, a model is developed by Peirce, which is called Elastica model, assuming the elastica shape of yarn. What is exactly the elastica shape of yarn? In actual fabric, almost any balance of crimp which is geometrically possible can be stabilized by setting treatment. Just now I told you setting treatment. The yarn will take up shape produced by such forces, and that the cross yarn will flow into available space, which is nothing but elastica. So only two concepts I told you: relaxation, that is setting treatment; elastica, that is flow, depending on space available to the yarn. The yarn take up the shape of an elastica being bent by point loads across, point loads acting at the intersection. This point also I have explained you yesterday, point load and distributed load. It depends what is the cross-sectional shape of the yarn. Recall last class, I have given you that diagram also. If the cross-section of yarn is completely circle, then one yarn touches other yarn in the fabric only at one point, because one circle can touch another circle only at one point. If the yarn is compressed, means it is no more circle, then the contact length will increase. So, and we know there is a inter-yarn force. So the force exerted by one yarn over the cross threads will be distributed over the complete contact length. Then in that case, the load is called distributed load. But if the cross section is completely circle, it is a point load, because the yarn is completely circle, it is touching to other yarn at only one point. So whatever load will be exerted, it will be exerted at one point, which is the ideal case. It never happens because yarn is compressible. Yarn is not a steel rod. It is a compressible. It has a packing density. I have given you all examples yesterday. 0.65, that means 35% place is still available as a void. So yarn can be compressed. So this approach gives three valuable information. Number one, there is a inter-yarn force. Second, balance of crimp between warp and weft with reference to yesterday lecture. Third, there is a degree of setting because it is a viscoelastic material. You know, this point will be again detailed discussed. Degree of setting means yarn is bent. I will explain right now. It is better to understand right now. You know, initially when we started weaving, the yarn was straight. Weaving is taking place. After 2-3 days of the weaving, you remove a thread from the fabric. What you will find, it is in crimped form. That means the bending which has taken place because of the crimping, means crimp is inserted, is set. If you remove the thread after few hours, maybe 24 hours or 48 hours, or after 3 days, 4 days, you will find that the bending, whatever stress is, which has caused the yarn to bend, is set. So you find a curved path of the yarn in the fabric. Okay, so these are the few fundamental aspects we have to keep in mind before we proceed to the model, which we are now going to discuss, is called rigid thread model. This model was suggested by also Pierce. Let us understand how this model is different from flexible thread model, which we have discussed so far in last 7 lectures. Flexible thread model is a purely geometrical model, whereas this rigid thread model takes into account realistic physical properties of yarn. Here everything we have assumed, yarn is flexible, yarn is incompressible. Here we will deviate from some of the assumptions because actual yarn is not 100% incompressible, is not 100% flexible, is not 100% elastic. So in rigid thread model, some realistic physical properties of yarn are considered. Then number 2, real shape of yarn path not considered. In geometrical model, we don't consider what will be the path of the yarn in the fabric. We just assumed yarn goes like this, as you have seen, by geometrical shape, which is determined by theta, weave angle. As the yarn will bend and more bend, the angle, weave angle theta changes, which is a geometrical concept. But how much it will bend? What will be the inter-yarn pressure? Because just now we discussed the bending will depend on what is the diameter of yarn, what is the rigidity of the yarn, what is the cross-sectional shape of the yarn, which we have not considered in geometrical model. We just assumed yarn is a circle, it's a cylindrical rod. So real shape of yarn path is not considered. In this model, what we will consider? Deformation produced by application of system forces and couples are considered. System of force, warp over weft or weft over warp. We will consider how much force is exerted at the crossover points, how much load is exerted by warp over weft and vice versa, then how much it has caused the deformation. That we will consider in this. Third point, no concern about actual path of yarn, more concern about geometrical parameter. Whereas in this model, what we will see, more concerned about actual path of yarn. And that's the reason why I have shown you this model. Actual path of yarn can be determined in terms of the change in alpha with change in S. That's why from where we define del alpha upon del S, that is change in curvature, is nothing but change in path of yarn, which of course will depend on yarn properties, how much curvature will change and what angle it will make at x-axis. We will be using this concept while considering the actual path of yarn in the fabric only in this term, change in curvature. That's why I explained you what is curvature, how this change is measured, how this change is expressed. And it is expressed in two terms, radius of curvature and curvature. Radius of curvature is reciprocal of the curvature, and radius of curvature of a straight line is infinity. Curvature of a straight line is 0. So this is the fundamental difference between these two models, the flexible thread model which we have discussed so far and the rigid thread model which we are now going to discuss. Both the models are useful because this flexible thread model helps us in engineering the fabric, because we need to decide all our construction parameters to make a fabric, what count yarn we need, what GSM the fabric will produce, what thread density will be there, what crimp will be there, what cover factor will be produced, all the factors we know which we have discussed so far. That is also equally important, because when we need to produce a fabric, we must know before producing fabric what will be its physical parameters. That is essential. But at the same time, we also should know what is going to be its properties. And properties will depend on what is the actual path of yarn. Properties means we are talking about mechanical properties. How much crimp will be there, how much it will bend, what will be its elasticity, what will be its modulus. So in that sense, both the models are equally important. Because we are concerned with both geometrical and rigid thread, the properties of the fabric, and we will take into account both the concept now. Okay, now understand this concept. You must have come across this in your physics also. In flexible thread model, what we have discussed, the geometrical changes. We have discussed many geometrical changes, whether fabric can be jammed or not, whether it can be pulled straight or not, if in warp direction it is extended in this much, how much it will be in other direction. It are all geometrical changes. It is not actual extension of the fabric, simply change in shape. In reality, yarn requires couple to bend, that it has flexural rigidity. We assume that yarn bends according to the law of bending, M is equal to B upon rho. It's a cantilever system. Let's say this is your yarn. A couple is applied here. Let's say couple is M. Look at my cursor. Then it will bend. It will bend means it will make a curvature. Let the radius of curvature is rho. Let B is the bending rigidity of yarn. So rigidity depends on many factors: diameter, count, packing density, all those things, cross-sectional shape. So now we are not taking into that detail. We are assuming this is a yarn, a couple is applied, the yarn is fixed at this end, so it is a cantilever system. When the couple will be applied, the yarn will bend, and since yarn has some flexural rigidity, it will make a curvature, and once it make a curvature, it will have a radius of curvature, and the relationship between the couple applied, the bending rigidity of the yarn and the radius of curvature it will make is related by the equation M is equal to B upon rho. M is bending moment at any point, B is flexural rigidity, rho is radius of curvature. This is simply fundamental equation of bending, and we'll be consider this in this model. M is equal to B upon rho. Remember this concept, this what you call first principles. It is called first principles law of bending. Holds good only to engineering material. It does not hold good to textile fabric. How? That we will discuss today. Remember, M is equal to B upon rho is only applicable to engineering material. It's not applicable to woven fabric or knitted fabric or non-woven fabric. Textile material are anisotropic material. They're not isotropic material. So you must understand the term I told you earlier. Now I'm going to explain isotropic and anisotropic. Isotropic means the properties of the material in all directions are same. Anisotropic means they are different in different directions. You take a woven fabric, the strength will be higher in either warp or wave direction. If you measure the strength in some biased direction, it will be low. You take a stainless steel sheet, you cut this sheet in any direction, measure its strength, you will find the strength is same in all directions. So that is isotropic and anisotropic material, and apart from that, a stainless sheet or any engineering material or metal sheet is uniform all across, whereas our fabric is a matrix of warp and weft, crossover points. The properties are different at different places, and the deformation behavior of the fabric is different from deformation behavior of metals or some other engineering materials. Let's say ceramics. Let's say some, polymers. So how it is different, that we will discuss now. If you plot a couple curvature relationship, so by this time you have understood what is couple curvature. Couple, here we are talking this M applied here at this point is bending, which is causing bending. Curvature K, which is 1 upon radius of curvature. So this is rho, 1 upon rho. You write K or 1 upon rho, one and the same thing. Curvature means reciprocal of radius of curvature. Olofsson has given this model and he plotted the inverse of radius of curvature versus bending moment of a cloth. So this is a typical curvature couple curve of a plain woven fabric. You load it, deload it, again load it, again deload it. You will get a typical curve of this type. You will find in some literature this arrow is given in this way. Reverse. You will find in that this will go here, this comes here. So the couple will be here, curvature is here. But anyway, you can make it one of these two variable, constants or variables. So that is independent variable, dependent variable. It is up to you, and the curve, the arrow will be changed. But anyway, what you see here is this is a relationship between curvature and couple, and for a plain woven fabric, this is the typical shape of couple curvature relationship. So BM means bending moment, that is couple applied. K for woven fabric produced marked hysteresis. You can see it has produced marked hysteresis. You must have come across this word hysteresis. We'll discuss this in subsequent lectures in detail. Hysteresis, loss of energy. When you bend and when you unbend, the curve does not return in the same line. It returns in another line. So there is a clear-cut energy loss from here to here, from here to here. So the area captured by loading and deloading curve is a measure of hysteresis, that is energy loss because of loading and deloading. You must have come across hysteresis in magnetism, hysteresis in other physics subjects. So this is hysteresis behavior of bending of a woven fabric. You will find, you take any woven fabric, when you go for bending and unbending, drawing, plotting the curve between couple and curvature, you will find a marked hysteresis. And this hysteresis, the distance from here to here, how much energy is lost, depends on the degree of setting of the fabric. Remember, I told you already, explained what is degree of setting. Relaxed. If you take a plain oven, a fabric straight away from the loom after weaving, these hysteresis will be very, very large. The distance from this point to this point will be very, very large. You take the same fabric, go for relaxation. You know, there are several ways of relaxation. You can have a dry relaxation, you can have a wet relaxation, you can go for washing the fabric in hot water, you can go for giving some detergent treatment, some alkali treatment, you can go for bleaching, scouring, moisturizing, and after during finishing also you can give some wetting agent treatment. As you go on giving all these treatments, you will find this hysteresis will reduce. Means the fabric is more relaxed, and the energy loss between loading and deloading will minimize. But anyway, that point I will discuss subsequently. Since I am now explaining you what is hysteresis, you try to understand what is hysteresis here. And in couple curvature curve of a plain woven fabric, this is a typical hysteresis diagram. And the last sentence, remember, why this hysteresis happens. This is usually attributed to internal friction between fibers. So we are talking of fabric. Fabric consists of a yarn. Yarn consists of fibers. When a fabric is bent, there is an interfiber movement, inter-yarn movement. And when there is an interfiber, inter-yarn movement takes place, there is a friction takes place between individual units. Individual units is between fibers and between yarns. It is because of that frictional force this hysteresis is visible. So it's clearly written, this hysteresis effect is attributed to internal friction between fibers. We call it interfiber friction, inter-yarn friction, or you will find the term sometimes written as frictional restraint, RESTRAINT. Frictional restraint is nothing but interfiber, inter-yarn friction. Okay, so I introduced this term. We have some models and diagrams subsequently, which I will discuss next class also. Okay, so this is couple curvature relationship of a woven fabric showing marked hysteresis, and this hysteresis is attributed to interfiber friction. Okay, that is what conclusion from this diagram. So this model was further studied by Grossberg subsequently, and sometimes in year 1966 it is published in this journal, TRJ, Textile Research Journal, volume 36, year 1966, page number 205. You can go through this. So this is a typical curve, curvature, couple. I told you in this diagram, see what is the direction of arrow. Here was curvature, here was couple. In this diagram, curvature is here, couple is here. So the direction of arrow is like this. So plot between bending moment, that is couple, and curvature is approximated like this. You can approximate it. Okay. So it's a modified version, but anyway, the general shape remains like this. And I have clearly mentioned it. It is to be discussed in detail in bending chapter. Bending chapter will come maybe after 5-6 lectures. There again, I will discuss this in detail with a model. So please try to understand this concept, which is very, very important as far as textile mechanics are concerned. So this is the same approximated curve which we have seen in previous slide. Couple curvature relationship. And you have already seen the couple curvature relationship is given by the equation m is equal to b upon rho. In the cantilever system, I have already explained you this equation, how it is happening. It is the same equation mentioned here, m is equal to b upon rho. But what is mentioned here is, instead of m, is written m minus m naught is equal to b upon rho, as long as m is greater than m naught and 1 upon rho is equal to 0 when m is less than equal to m naught. Try to understand what it is this. This is very, very important, and you must understand. Without understanding this, that means you cannot understand further mechanics of fabric in textile. M minus m naught is equal to b upon rho as long as m is greater than, when m is greater than m naught. And what is this m naught? M naught is nothing but frictional couple, frictional restraint. It is the same what is written here. This attributed to internal friction. Frictional restraint. This m naught is frictional restraint. Means you have a fabric, you started bending it by applying a couple. Initially you will find, although you have already started, you start loading with 0. Then you give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go on loading. The fabric will not bend. The fabric will bend, let's say at a point when your couple applied is 4. Up to 4, there is no bending. That 4 is your m naught, which is because of frictional restraint. When fabric is loaded, initial resistance to bending is offered by the interfiber inter-yarn friction. You will see the physical change means actual bending, and actual bending, you know what is actual bending? Change in curvature. That is why I explained you, spent 15 minutes to explain you what is curvature. Change in curvature means radius of curvature will change. So change in curvature you will observe physically only when the applied couple exceeds the frictional restraint inside the fabric, that is m naught. So obviously the basic relationship of law of bending, m is equal to b upon rho, will be converted to m minus m naught is equal to b upon rho as far as textile woven fabrics are concerned. I hope you understand. So 1 upon rho will be 0, because if m is less than m naught, if m is m than n naught means fabric is not started bending. So it is a straight line. For a straight line, what is curvature? 0. I have already explained you this, concluded it. 2 important points. Radius of curvature of a straight line is infinity. Curvature of a straight line will be 0. That is what happening. When applied couple is less than the frictional restraint, that means you cannot see the fabric is bent. You can see fabric will start bending only when it is greater than m naught. So as long as applied couple is less than m naught, 1 upon rho is equal to 0. So what is m naught and bending rigidity? For actual fabric, when m is less than m naught, 1 upon rho is not 0, but sufficiently small, so we neglect. M naught represents friction couple needed to overcome the, I have already all explained you this. The interfiber friction, inter-yarn friction at the crossover points, because as you know, when we are weaving, we are not welding warp with weft. Warp is just sitting over the weft, and the structure is whole, the structure is formed. It is because of the inter-yarn friction, and frictional force is nothing but a adhesion force. It's a mechanical force. Force of adhesion is a mechanical force. It is due to friction. So B is bending rigidity. B represents the elastic resistance to deformation. It is material specific. Elastic, bending rigidity, just like tensile modulus. B is nothing but a modulus, bending modulus. And modulus of every material is different. It is material specific. This you know from fundamentals of physics. The rigidity of steel is different from rigidity of aluminum. It is the rigidity of tungsten, the rigidity of copper. Every material has a different rigidity. It is material specific, the modulus. So B is material specific. M is applied couple. M naught is structure specific. How much will be inter-yarn friction? How much will be interfiber friction? Depends on what is our yarn. Many things that we will discuss in bending chapter. What all decides what will be the value of M naught? So many things are involved. We'll discuss this separately in bending chapter. But this is the concept which will be used in your model, that is bending rigid thread model. Okay. Then advantage and disadvantage of couple curvature curve. So this is the last 2 slides you have to understand today. We will be using this concept in the model which we will discuss tomorrow and day after tomorrow. The plot between bending modulus and curvature or reducible curvature is a realistic approach to find the path of yarn. The mathematics involved would be slightly more complex. I am giving you this example from where you will also realize why we have not discussed elliptical model, why you have discussed circular model and Kemp model, that is racetrack model. Why not elliptical model of cross section of the fabric? You can understand from here also. Because the yarn takes elliptical shape and the calculation from geometry becomes very, very complex due to introduction of elliptical integral. So here is shown you when the cross section changes to elliptical shape. Although we have not discussed the model, what will be the relationship if the cross section becomes a ellipse, but you can realize from here. This is how the change of path of yarn takes place. I'll explain this in the next slide more clearly. Look at this. What is elliptical integral? So you just consider an ellipse. This is the equation of the ellipse, taking an attempt to find length of arc BP. Length of arc BP. So we are assuming let BP is equal to S. See in the next slide. Let's find the length of arc BP is equal to S. From this diagram you can see here ds square is equal to dx square plus dy square. Substitute in terms of A and B. So ds upon d psi will be a square cos square psi plus b square sin square psi square root. In this square root we have taken positive sign. We ignored negative sign. The reason is very simple, because as you go on increasing the value of S, you will find this psi will change. Look at this. If it is here, the psi is small. If it is here, as you go on increasing the value of S, the angle psi changes. So when you take the square root, we consider only positive root. We ignore the negative root. So ds upon d psi is this much. Substitute by eccentricity. B square is equal to a square 1 minus e square. This you know from geometry. Substitute this value, you will find ds upon d psi is equal to this. That means if you integrate it, s will be a integration 0 to phi 1 minus e square sine square psi square root. Now you must realize this is an elliptical integral which cannot be integrated by elementary function. If you want to integrate it, you have to integrate it numerically. If you want to know what will be the path of yarn in, path of yarn, we have discussed in our geometrical model. Recall L, modular length. Modular length is consists of three portions: the central straight portion and two arc of the curve, because we assume it is a circle. So circle you can consider arc, but it is elliptical. How much it will be, we do not know, because it is elliptical path. And if you integrate this value to find out this s, it is coming in the elliptical integral form, and which is practically very difficult to. How much will be this value of s, which we have found in case of geometrical model very easily, assuming it is a circular path. And in any circle, you know how much it will be. You take any portion of the arc. We have a straight formula where you can find out. And that's the reason why we did not give much emphasis on elliptical model, and we gave more emphasis on the racetrack model and the circular model of the piers. So it results an elliptical integral, and we find. So we just ended with this solution. There are two solutions to this: elliptical integral of the second kind and elliptical integral of the first kind, represented by these two standard form of the equation. And we close this chapter here. If you use elliptical integral, you will find this, but we will continue from next lecture how much will be the path of yarn assuming rigid thread model. The basic concept which I told you. If you change the value of s, how the angle psi changes, that is in this form. If you recall this, using this concept, how much will be changed if s changes, how much alpha changes. So using this concept, we will discuss from the next class the rigid thread model, the actual path of the yarn. So I close it here. You may log out, and in the next class we will discuss the actual path of yarn in rigid thread model, ignoring this elliptical integral because of this complexity of the solution. Okay, you can log out.